Hello, I'm Murray Newlands. Welcome to another episode of Performance Marketing Insider TV. I'm here at Blog World in Las Vegas with Scott Monty, who runs the social media for Ford. Scott, what are you doing at Blog World? New Media Expo now.
Well, a lot of interviews, evidently. We are here as the gold sponsor. This is the fourth year in a row that we've been here at New Media Expo. And we're proud to be here because we get to reach an audience that we don't normally get to reach. These are people that are concerned with and interested in the very space of social media that we've been able to, been fortunate to dominate over the past few years. We get to learn a little bit about what we've done. We get to share some of the lessons that we've made along the way. And of course, we had a keynote yesterday where we talked about some of our successes, and we're displaying this lovely 2013 Ford Fusion.
Now, as a car manufacturer, obviously you were saying that you sell to dealerships and you sell the brand. How do you measure that back to actually being here and measuring the results from this show?
Well, when you think about what we're trying to accomplish with social media, it's mostly on the higher end funnel kind of activities. It's about awareness and it's about consideration. And when we think about the strategic rationale behind social, it's largely tied up in reputation management. You know, how people think about the brand, how people approach us, the things that we're doing that are then worthy of note and of remarks that they'll pass on to their friends, because that helps build the brand's reputation. Farther down the funnel, of course, that means they'll ultimately purchase, but that's not exactly what we're measuring with the output of social.
So you measure how many times you get comments, how many tweets, and how many posts actually come out of the show?
We look at volume, we look at sentiment, we look at share of voice, we look at verbatims from time to time, and we look at individuals because we're trying to help the traditional team understand that, you know, when you get a retweet from somebody like Robert Scoble, for example, it's actually the equivalent of like a New York Times headline in terms of how many potential people could see it. So we're trying to draw parallels with some of those equivalencies to bring the rest of the team up to speed on what we're actually measuring and what the impact potentially is.
Now, obviously, you've got your brand communications that you're doing. How are you actually communicating this across the company and then into dealerships? And how do you work with those dealerships? Effectively, like a brand with affiliates, how do you work with those dealerships to actually make sure that they understand the messaging that's coming out, the communication? Do you have some big, huge internal CMS system that communicates all this through, or how do you do that?
Well, we've got a pretty robust system with our dealer networks that it's kind of an intranet between Ford corporate and the dealers. It's called FordNet.
Okay.
And we also have a video version of that. It's FordTube. Very inventive in terms of our naming here, I'm sure you understand. But ultimately, we can't control what the dealers do. They're going to do whatever they want to do because they're all independently owned and operated.
Right.
So we can simply provide content, we can provide best practices, we can provide training and guidelines, and we do all of that. But in addition, we give them the fire hose of content from Facebook, from Twitter, from our Ford social site. We give them the benefit of all the stuff we're already creating so they don't have to go and create it themselves, and they can cherry pick the stuff that makes sense for them and then go and create specific local content that matters to them and to their consumers and kind of marry the two together.
So you supply content, inspiration, and suggestions, and they choose to tailor that and move that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Excellent. What's been your most successful campaign with that and moving that forward in 2012?
Wow. Well, I think the Random Acts of Fusion campaign was probably the most successful in terms of integrating with the dealerships, particularly because it was capped off with that Go Further with Ford night at the dealerships. Right. Yes. So this was a first step for us where we actually said, okay, here's a national campaign. And yeah, we always do national sales events, but this was a national big campaign with a documentary being made behind it. And then it culminated by actually going to over 2,000 dealerships on a single night website and asking their individual communities to support them. So we gave dealers a specific role to play to really kind of bolster the community development and the community philanthropy angle that we wanted to cap it off with.
So do we see more of those coming in 2013, do we?
We'll see a lot of different things coming in 2013. I can't tell you exactly what yet, but expect to see a lot more from us throughout the year.
Thank you. If people want to find out more and contact you and connect with you, how do they do that, Scott?
Well, they can find out more about Ford and all that we're doing in social at social.ford.com. Of course, Ford on Facebook, facebook.com/Ford, on Twitter as well. And if you want to get in touch with me personally, you can find me at Scott Monty on Twitter or on Facebook.
Scott, thank you very much.
My pleasure, Murray.
I'm Murray Newlands. You're watching Performance Marketing Insider TV. I'll see you next time.